Yes. Soon enough, you will forget. After having a Halloween party for the children at the hospital, the coterie has left to go to the gun farm and start some ceremonies with spirits. Let's see where they are.
Jax has a moment of realization that the monster is actually here, conversing with Javier. And at least the other two senior Hakata know it. They can sense it.
What is this? What game are you all playing at here? He's talking to you directly now?
He's going to be my servant.
Your servant?
Oh, yes.
I'll be a good boy.
I still can't hear that, right? Okay. I
would prefer that Mr. White be gone for good.
I thought that's what was going to happen. That's what I thought this was for here. What? So why do you have him as like some sort of pet?
Pet would imply that I care for him.
Jax, not all things that die stay dead. You're evidence of that.
So what's the plan with having him as your servant?
How would you kids say it? He's going to be my bitch.
I'm not one bitch.
Javier, I want Mr. White out of commission.
Destroyed.
Yes. Or made into something that no longer has any consciousness.
Well, that is the plan. Eventually. We need some answers first.
Yes, I'll be useful.
So, Miss Deary, the ribbon? Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm gonna untie the ribbon, but I'm still hesitant to hand it over. You might even see my hand shaking a little bit as I reach out my hand with the ribbon.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, I can't keep going on not knowing what I really am and what's been really going on. She's the only other clue I have right now. I have to do this.
Girl.
Very well.
Opening Pandora's box has never gone wrong. Good choice.
She's gonna step it up as she hears that voice again in her head. Before I caught her off guard in the car with Jude, and she is going to address it and go, "You are either her inner voice, you're either my friend in this case, or you are my enemy. Either shut up or help protect me like you said you were supposed to do."
You in any danger yet?
Not yet.
Hey, let's have a chat with Mom. Let's do that. Come on.
Javier's still holding it. You haven't let it go yet.
Yeah. She turned, like, her face turns, like, very serious, and she looks actually angry, and you might think she's angry at you. And then she lets go of the ribbon.
Okay. Well, might as well get started. I'm going to kind of examine the ribbon. STU had described that it was very obviously vibrating to me.
It is.
So I'm just going to cast Bind the Fetter.
Please make your rolls, sir.
You would get assistance from Jude in this.
So what should I be rolling?
You'll add a dice to your dice pool for his occult knowledge.
Okay.
Is that the avenue you were going, sir?
Mm.
CJ, anything?
So
CJ
that's
isn't an occult man, but he is, however, keeping direct eye contact with Mr. White, and he's not hiding it at all.
CJ clearly looks to be looking over one of Javier's shoulders intently.
Eyes to the soul. I see yours, big man.
Mr. Javier,
So-
if you would describe your efforts for us, please.
you still need to tell me what I'm supposed to roll.
You would ask me that question.
I think it's,
Anybody have
what
a
is it?
preference on necromancy?
It's I'm pretty sure it's Resolve and Oblivion.
Okay.
Right, you have to overcome the will.
And I will surge. So
And
let me
you
do
get
that
a-
one first.
A +1 from me as well.
Success. Don't get hungrier.
Good thing.
All right, so all right. That is 9 successes and a crit.
Yes.
Common as you've seen the eyes of Mr. Milliner dark when he's looking past things that are here and corporeal and evident. So too the eyes of Mr. Javier Grillo onyx over, even noticeable from behind his shades as he still wears them in this darkened environment. Yes, sir.
You would notice that basically Javier reached into his priestly cloak and pulled out a small bottle and then smeared the contents on the ribbon. It's part of doing that.
There is a audible knocking sound from nowhere apparent. There's a dragging sound of nails against concrete. There is a tearing sound of sheet, an old sheet if you were to pull from 2 different directions too hard, too fast, and it rends. There's a brief warmth that passes everyone from above as it coalesces around the altar that's been assembled. The blue ribbon falls in two pieces. As you can hear a slight scream come from the corners of the room, shadows, darkness. There's a moment of light that seems to surround the blue ribbon as it mends itself and becomes still. The liquid that was poured on it seems to evaporate into the ether. Milliner, Rio, Zeke, anybody who's watching with Sense the Unseen, even heightened senses might see the form, a ghostly, almost apparition of a woman. Then, she wears overalls, bare feet. Elbows and knees look damp and dirty as if she had been in mud. Hair free-flowing behind her. Though there is, even in her ghastly form in this moment, there is just a torn section from the left side of her neck, just missing.
That's rough to see. That mark right there. As soon as Jack's eyes falls on that.
The apparition fades just as quickly. Javier, you know for a fact you've summoned someone. Blanca?
Oh no, this was me just keeping Jack steady, still holding her hand. Because I'm looking at her. I don't have my Sense the Unseen on, so I'm looking at her to watch her reactions.
Sarah, you've heard stories. You've been around a long time. You've been through the end of the Civil War. You've been through 2 world wars. You've heard about spirits being here, haunts, poltergeists.
Real.
This is real. Makes your skin crawl. Jude? Yeah. Somebody just got pulled. Mr. Grillo has been hiding some of his abilities. Maybe he's more than meets the eye. Milliner, you can feel the thickening of the abyss. Your familiar touch with it, its gentle caress, and its lack comes closer as he draws a spirit from across the veil and the void.
So you said the apparition left just as quickly as it came, or is it still here?
It appeared and then faded as the activity around the ribbon ceased. Though you can feel a presence, a familiar one. Zeke, you know this presence. You know this is Miss Deary's mother. You're the one that put that mark on her neck that tore the life from her. And she sees you. She looks at you accusingly. There's an anger around her.
For anyone looking at Zeke, you will see him openly crying. He has regretted this for years.
Just crying? You making any noise?
No, it's a soundless sobbing of ectoplasm and blood.
So I can see the tears, but I can't hear them.
Correct.
Where did she go?
I merely locked her to the ribbon, which, by the way, you must take care of after this conversation, lest something bad happen to what remains of her.
So she's bound
To the ribbon?
to the ribbon?
Yes.
Javier, you can see her soundlessly screaming with an angry voice into a direction just past you.
She is agitated, I'm assuming from our other company. Makes sense. However, are you ready to have your conversation? We only have till dawn.
Is she open to?
We will find out. I've made the preparations as best they can be made.
She can hear me, see me, everything.
Yes, and you'll be able to speak with her.
Mom, it's me. It's Jacqueline. Are you there?
She won't be able to talk to you until after the ceremony.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
As
I'll let go of Jax's hand so she could do whatever she needs to do.
We're right next to you, but we're no longer touching.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving you your chance to stand on your own.
Thank you.
So I'm going to kind of maneuver so my back is to the group. So I'm in between the basically the circle I'm about to draw and them. So right in front of the altar, I would grab some of the charcoal and draw a large circle. In that circle, I would place the ribbon and another bottle from my robe, and I would pour it on the ribbon. And I would step back. Miss Deary, what was her name?
Maya.
So I would say the name Maya, and then you would see me lower my head slightly and kind of almost a whispered chant in Latin. Was grata patriarcha, nox hac in pace ionge. And I would repeat that over and over again. Does anyone else here speak Latin? Their characters?
Not Latin, but Sicilian is pretty close.
So basically, those who have the ability to figure out what I'm saying, you would know it to say, welcome, ancestor, join us in peace this night, basically, right? A neutral welcome, right? Something not antagonistic. And I would repeat that while we wait to see her respond.
Anyone else doing anything?
I'm just being prepared.
No, I'm helping.
Prepared
Help.
to try and
I do need to roll for that because that is a separate.
Yeah, I'm helping
thing.
with the ritual, making sure that the lines and everything else are fine.
While you do that, I'm actually going to take out the perfume bottle that Blanca had gave me because I'm shaky. I don't know what to expect. And I'm just gonna smell it and maybe dab a little bit on like my neck and my wrists.
I'm just
Javier.
prepared for anything to happen. If something is attacking Jax, I will act.
Same.
Javier, you would also hear the sound of clapping, a slow, giddy, almost tone to it, helping you keep in rhythm with your chanting.
After applying the perfume too, you guys will see that Jax puts her hands together, and it almost looks as though she's praying, and you've never seen her do that before. You can see as though like there's a hope that that everything will be okay, and that this is like her mom, and she might even say that a little bit under her breath while she has her hands clasped, like, please let it be her. Let it really be her.
There's a flicker of light and shadows as the candles dance. As Javier Grillo continues to intone his words of invocation. About the 5th or 6th round. Yes, sir.
I did the roll. I didn't know if you needed that or not.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot. 12 and crit. I have a really ugly dice pool, y'all.
I've seen it.
Whew. And help.
Yeah, as this is happening, Blanca, she doesn't like try to put her ward anywhere, but you do see those who would be just able to see kind of the whole group would see her holding a goat head that has sort of it has a symbol on it, but it is of warding and in blood.
So
on the skull.
During this process, you brought out a severed goat head.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The skulls, it's a goat skull, not a literal goat head. Okay. That would be wild.
I don't blame him on that one. I was totally thinking the same thing.
I am so sorry. Not a literal goat head. It's a goat skull.
As the 5th or 6th round of intonation of these syllables occurs, a couple of things happen at the same time. The candles stand still, their flames extending several inches above where they should be. For a moment, you can see the visage of Ezekiel White leaning back, clapping behind Javier Grillo. You can see Maya in the throes of anger, screaming angrily, spitting curses at him, and she shivers violently. Stops. You can hear silence as only those who wrap themselves in the abyss know or have been through it before. It's that silence, the absolute lack of any vibrations of any kind transmitting anything. And you see a ghastly apparition of your mother. She stops, turns, ignoring everyone and everyone else, looking at you. She reaches out. You can't be here. You can't be here.
What do you mean?
Why are you here?
For you. I'm here for you. And I reach out to touch her.
She recoils.
Oh, Mom, it's me. It's
Clasps
Jacqueline.
both her hands over her chest tightly. You survived, and you... This!
I survived, and a lot has happened since then. I don't know how to explain this.
Damned is what you are. You chose the darkness. You had life. You escaped that. And she points directly over Javier's shoulder. You chose that.
No.
You
I
had a purpose.
I didn't choose this.
And this is audible for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I know you, everything, the things that we went through, the things that you taught me, I still know those things. Everything that's happened, you were gone, and I didn't know what to do. I felt like I lost everything. And These people, they're kind. They were there. They provided help.
You don't understand. Your choice. You had the opportunity. And I will pay ever. You were promised. And now you're one of those things. She looks as if she can see those gathered around, pointing at them accusingly. You were freed.
What do you mean that you'll be punished for me being this way? Who will punish you?
Looks away. There's a moment of shame as she does. She's sobbing.
Mom, it's still me. I go again to try to comfort her. It's still me.
Again,
I'm still here.
She recoils to the point of backing towards the edge of the circle drawn and winces when she nears it. Like it hurt her. There's a face on her. You don't understand. You got away. You had life. You had light. You had everything. And you had purpose. You were a gift. You were promised.
Help me understand. All I know is that day I was supposed to be with him. I was a gift to him.
Do you think we would have let that happen? Ever? He's a monster. You're a monster. And she turns again, a pointing finger.
As soon as I see her point the finger at Mr. White, I'm going to reach in my pocket and squeeze that medallion very hard.
Zeke, as strange as it seems, in your incorporeal form, untouched by anything since you loosed the mortal coil, there is a compression on you you have never thought possible. Jacqueline, you know you're different. Look, you're changing. It's too late.
This isn't you. You loved him. You worshipped the ground he walked on. You did everything for him. And now you're just turning around? Now you're acknowledging that he's a monster? Even though all this time you knew
he was a monster. It was part of...
Now you know?
We've always known.
But now you acknowledge it. You've always known, but you've gone along with him. You promised me to him. You were going to give me away. You were there. You dressed me. You bathed me. You prepared me for that day. You are so happy to do it.
If he hadn't have brought all of those other monsters with him, we would have taken his head, and you and some others would never have seen that horror, and you would not be tainted in damnation and hell and the darkness. It swallows you now. I can see it. It wraps around you like a blanket, and you wear it like a cloak and a crown.
I had nothing when you left. When you were murdered, I watched you. I needed strength. And this is what was given to me. And I've done my absolute best.
Taught you strength your whole life. The one moment you needed it most, you were weak and you chose
You taught me lies!
darkness.
You taught me lies! You betrayed me just as much as he did. You knew. And you were in denial the entire time. You taught me lies. Your definition of strength, it means nothing now. Now I define my strength. This is what I found. This is who I am. And I made this way because of your lies. Look at what your lies made me. And I'm going to call upon the darkness the way that it's called to me. And I'm going to take it into me. And it is going to course through my veins, around my eyes. And it's going to fill my eyes with darkness. And suddenly 2 white rings will appear in the center. I am going to unleash the arms of Armand, and I'm going to let them loom over me, and the darkness all around fills the room. Look at me. Look at your daughter!
Waiting for a rouse check.
Oh, me? Oh, I'm sorry. I stopped. I was like, why did everything get quiet? That was really awkward. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, we're waiting for me to
hear you.
change to plug in.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say a rouse check. I'm
Violence
so
of
sorry.
the void overtook you.
I heard it, and I was like, I don't think she heard, so I'm like...
No, yeah, I didn't hear. So sorry.
It's in the moment.
We are
I wasn't-
nihilists. We believe in nothing.
Yeah, I failed. So
The most.
I'm at 3 hunger. Yay.
That
Don't worry,
darkness-
I bought orange slices and juice boxes.
Delicious.
It's like the one time that CJ wrapped you up in absolute nothing. You cloak yourself and summon the arms of Armand, extending the shadows from within to out, coalescing the darkness. And even as you scream and demand answers, she, or the visage of her, turns rapidly towards Mr. Griot. Her face changes, it elongates, it changes form, it takes on almost a ghastly, demonic look. It's hard to put into description what things on the other side of the veil look like. A dragon, who knows what, and she lunges at Griot, screaming, "Release me, necromancer, or I will kill you!"
In response to that, Javier is going to reach into his cloak and grab another little bottle. And he is going to fling this liquid in the bottle at her mother. And in the other hand, he has the ribbon, and he is going to light his lighter and hold it underneath the ribbon and simply says, "You will stop and answer the questions you are asked."
Hey,
And
what's in
that
the
would
bottle?
be compel spirit. That would be my blood.
Excellent.
So I am compelling this particular spirit.
Your rolls, please.
Javier, you'd also hear in your ears as you're doing this.
Rouse the blood, correct?
Well, no, it's a ceremony. It's basically an oblivion roll. So 8, still crit.
Good go.
It's like
Javier, you'd hear in your ear, "We obey."
You all see Javier do this, flings the contents of a small bottle and vial, and instead of passing through the apparition, it lands, splashes, as he commands her to compels her to answer the questions. She recoils back inside the circle, her face returning to the one you know and remember. She doesn't look up. You can see she is affected by this.
This is like the most angry anyone has ever seen Jax. This is no longer that sweet, innocent girl. This is now a predator. She's baring her fangs. Her voice, when she spoke, was distorted and overlapped by another. She is pure anger right now. And she looks to her mother and says, "I didn't choose this. This is what you made me. This was all I had, and now I've chosen to make something of it. And I need you to tell me why. What am I? What did you do? Amongst everything else that you've done, that you've hidden from me. Please tell me that much. Tell me what I am."
She, without looking, holds up a hand, shaking. You can see she seems to try and resist, but can't. What you are was your choice. We didn't make you this. You had another path.
I didn't know I had it.
What you are now?
I didn't know what I was.
Miss Deary, if I may, who was she promised to? And I will squeeze the ribbon.
It goes by the name Genti.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
Genti. Spelled
Agenti.
H-A-G-E-N-T-I. Agenti.
And who is this person?
Go ahead.
Someone of note that doesn't dwell in your darkness. Now I am done answering your questions. Release me.
You are done when I say you are done. Who is this person?
There are no words to describe or educate you. He's not of your world.
And then what world might that be from then?
The one you can't see. The Kingdom of Willows.
Does this name mean anything to me, gente?
Probably not.
I would have known that from my rolls, though. About
Yes.
yeah. Okay, this is confirming
Something
for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
She still does not look back up at you, Jack. She looks compressed.
Ms. Deary, do you have anything else for this one?
I'm sorry.
Just why? Why did you have me?
It was a promise, and we don't break promises.
Why didn't you just tell me? All I thought was him. I thought he was the only choice I had. And then you were all gone. And this is all I knew now.
And now I will pay the price for all of eternity because of your choice. Your choice
Punished
for
by
this darkness.
who? Who is going to punish you? Are you in danger? Are you in trouble? We can help you.
It's not. You can have no effect on my universe anymore. You chose this world of darkness. I'm sorry, Jax. The light that you were promised is gone. And now so is mine.
You know what? Maybe you deserve it. You hid that from me. That light. That I could have had. That I could have known. And instead, you chose to offer me up to someone, a god. Right? Is this another god that has a hold on you too? Is that what that person is, a god?
No, we are not gods. I beg you, Necromancer, release me.
Javier's just going to smile and stay silent. Hand on the ribbon. Miss Deary.
Yeah.
Did you get the answers you were looking for?
You know what? I'm just gonna come out and say this. Am I a fairy? Are you a fairy? Is that what we are? Is that what we've always been?
You would have been.
You hid it from me. All these years. I trusted you. I trusted all of you. To take care of me. To protect me. And now, you're telling me I can't help you and you can't help me and...
Don't let the darkness swallow you. Fight it at every turn. That's the only help I can give you.
No. Maybe I like it here now.
Yes, that's very touching. I think we're about done here. Yes, Miss Deary.
Yeah. She's useless.
You, begone. Darken my door no more. And I'll kick the charcoal dust in the circle, breaking it.
Again, there's a moment of violent vibration of the ghastly apparition. The circle breaks, and it is no more. Gone.
Blanca will step forward to Jax, grab her hands so that she looks at her, and she'll say, I am so proud of you.
For what?
You did it.
Indeed.
You stood on your own 2 feet, found your own strength. You did it.
And she's gonna look at you. She'll look at both of you, and you can still see her eyes are the way that they are now. They haven't changed back. She knows something's different, but she can't see it herself.
Old is new, what's new is old. Abandoned again. What do you think?
I'm gonna say to the voice, no, I'm not abandoned this time. I let her go, not the other way around. And that part, you guys hear out loud.
We're back, and as you can see, there's been a change. I had to remove my makeup. My flesh and body gave up the fight against the allergens, and the makeup, cheap as it was, won that battle. We are back in the basement, beneath the erected arms manufacturing and distribution center that was once the Marrakesh farm. Mr. Javier Grillo had just dismissed the soul or spirit of the person Jax assumed was her mother. Asked questions, forced to answer, probably didn't get all the answers she wanted or the answers she might have expected. The candles flames return to normal, flickering as they do. The sound again retreats as Javier breaks the circle, pocketing the fetter, the blue ribbon once worn by Miss Deary's mother.
I would fold that ribbon, making sure to kind of wipe off any excess fluid that may be on it, and roll it up nice and neat and hand it back. Ms. Deary, this is in your keeping.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna look at it with disgust. And instead of properly placing it anywhere like I normally would, I'm gonna crumple it up. And I'm just gonna toss it in my bag. Like it's nothing. Garbage.
Oh, noted.
And my arms of Armand are still out, but they're wrapped around me in a comforting way to try to keep me calm and at bay.
Please continue.
Well, now that that's taken care of, shall we move outside?
Lead the way.
Outside.
Blanca lifts the goat head skull with a smile and then says, "Let's go." And we'll peter over to the door.
I'll lead the way outside.
I'll stay back with Jax until she is ready to move.
Oh, I'm moving. In fact, I'm leading. Almost, side by side.
Okay.
Yeah. This tall
Carlisle
giantess. George.
Carlisle would be maybe 6 to 10 steps behind Javier.
I'm gonna say if anyone who's behind Jax, there's a difference now in her stride. Now she's walking with her head held high, and she doesn't seem as awkward now with her newfound height. She seems like she might be starting to get a hold of the momentum and how to move her body in a certain way and find her own walk now.
Blanca is smiling the entire time, seeing Jax come into her own. A very, like, that's my girl type of expression.
It's funny. Sarah's legs just seem to naturally speed up in order to keep up with Jax. Jax is striding, and Sarah's just kind of moving quickly along the side.
As you exit the building, Mr. Marcu is there, opens the door for you, allows the train to exit, and as you instructed him previously, enters the building, closing the door behind him, again, leaving you with your guests.
Excellent. This way, and I would motion towards the circle. As we were walking over, I would look over at Blanca and say, Miss Rosa, so around the trench, I don't trust this little hijo de puta at all. No risk. Understand?
Understood.
Excellent.
When we get to the trench, you will see her pull out the rest of the Go Ahead skulls, each marked with the same warding symbol on the forehead. And when Javier is ready, she will begin to she will start at the north candle, light it, place a skull there, then work her way around and leaving an opening and an unlit candle for them to go into the circle when he's ready.
Excellent. So I'm watching you do this, and as that happens, I'm walking into the middle, and I kind of look back as you can close it now.
And with that, I will put the final skull down and light the candle, and the ritual of warding will activate.
Excellent. So I grab Mr. White's medallion out of my pocket, and I'm holding it in my hand, and you see me reach down and flick my lighter at the trench that surrounds me, and it all engulfs into flame. And as soon as I see that complete around me, I basically smear the medallion with some of my blood and perform the summoning ceremony.
A moment. The ring of fire encapsulates everyone. I will need you to roll your unspent willpower.
I was the only one in the circle.
Well, everyone is there, and you just lit a big old circle of fire.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's right
So what
there.
are we rolling?
Your unspent willpower. There's a Rorschach test.
This
That's the end of
everybody?
the episode, guys. Thanks for playing.
Yes,
Is this
everybody.
everyone
This-
or everybody but... oh,
There
okay.
is a reaction.
Me as
You
well.
have the same reaction, whether you light the fire or not. This is fire, and you are surrounded by it. The darker side of you. Excellent. Excellent.
I have the question.
Yes?
I got.
4.
Do you roll blood dice when you roll the?
No, it's just
Rorschach
straight
test?
unspent willpower.
So I've got 3 successes and 1 beast.
Fine. So everyone reacts to the sudden presence. It has been nice and dark. A little candlelight downstairs, a little bit of torchlight out here. But this was been sitting and evaporating for quite some time, and every bit of that has caught fire in a flash. Jax and Sarah, a little bit more pensive with the sight of the fire. The rest of you, yeah, this is part of the ceremony. There's that instant, sudden, and then, yeah, it's okay. This is controlled. This is not against us. Jackson, Sarah, it's a little unsettling. The whole night's been probably a little unsettling. Javier is turning out to be quite the scary individual.
The first thing Jude is going to do is sees the fire, masters himself, and then sees if anybody else is affected.
it's noticeable. But nobody loses control. Sorry, please continue, Mr. Griot.
All right. So, well, I need to roll at this point, basically.
Yes.
Well, I got to rouse first. Ooh, and I get hungrier.
Mr. Griot gains hunger. And you did not feed at all after your last little ceremony. For hunger.
Well, I didn't. Yeah,
That
I'm
little
at 4
monkey.
now.
Aside from the constant sensation of Santini and Zeke, that voice. Get to it. We're gonna need that stuff. We're gonna need it right now. And they came in abundance. Screw that shit in the cooler. You have your pick. They have their rapt attention. You are a god now. Feed. Slip to the darkness and take your pick. The young one looks particularly, yes. Now, do it. As he stumbles in his thoughts, his eyes burst into an onyx flame. You've seen it before. Things around his feet might darken if anyone cared to look. And Javier looks predatory. Very.
I would definitely
predatory.
be keeping an eye. Yeah, I definitely look at him to see what's happening. Does he still have the flower on his
So,
robes?
I'm actually not wearing the boutonniere this evening. I have a gray rose kind of at the center of my chest almost.
Okay.
That starts to drop petals.
Hmm.
There
Who's
are
nearest
backup.
me? Yeah, who's nearest me? I think it would be Jax, yes? I will
think so.
I will grab Jax by like the back of her shirt and start to like tug her back a little bit. Trying to keep a safe distance from Javier.
With the preceding events, his command over entities that did not stand there before, he now looks scary. He's intimidating, and he's hungry. You can see it. You all have experienced this. It's clearly written on him.
Would Javier have told anyone that he has those baggies of snacks?
He said it to no one.
Oh, they were obviously in the, like, it's a big, like, huge cooler right when you
Okay.
guys walked in from downstairs. There's no way you could have missed it.
Okay. So you tell me, ST, if I can do this. Seeing what's occurring with him, would I be okay to run and get those?
Did Javier even mention what was in his cooler? Or just that there was a cooler there? Because I don't remember there being a magic window in his cooler.
Okay, no, but that's what
No,
I'm
there,
asking.
there
if-
wasn't.
if-
I
Okay.
would likely send you shortly because
Okay.
I'm more than likely going to have to do another roll.
Okay.
So once we get the party started, then I can have a snack for a moment before.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to metagame at all, but
Put a- No.
checking.
I put a little thought. I'm just saying. So
Yeah.
Zeke, you can sense that hunger. You remember it that night here.
Smells like white birch.
Got 9 successes on that roll, by the way.
Please continue. Tell us exactly what's going on, sir.
So basically, Javier would smear the blood on Mr. White's medallion and kind of hold it in his hand for a moment and just say, "White, show yourself." Notably more stern and less conciliatory than the earlier version of this that you saw. It's very obvious that I care little for the subject's opinion. That's the most notable difference. I don't care what he thinks. He's going to show up.
Was in the basement. So happens here, the fire seems to still itself yet grow higher. Even though its sternal flame still breaches the little moat that he had erected. But what does appear is a clearly visible apparition of Mr. Ezekiel White.
Mr. White. It does get worse, doesn't it? Miss Rosa, if you would be so kind, there's a cooler inside. If you would bring that out. I'm a little parched.
Not a problem. And I will go and do that.
Yes, sir.
As she takes off, I'm still staring at White. I'm gonna blood search for manipulation.
Rouse, please.
And I pass. And then I'm going to browse for Shadowcast. And I rolled a 1.
That's a stain.
I feel like you're gonna. I feel like you're gonna spend a willpower on that.
Nope.
Oh no.
Nope.
You can't.
And you're gonna see the darkness cascade over him, and the shadow he once had from the flames is not behind him. It's pulled right under him currently as he continues to watch on.
This is not the other thing yet.
This is not the other thing.
Gotcha.
Only if that other thing is.
Yep. So yeah, CJ pulls the darkness from the nearby shadows and commands them with authority. There might even be a slight tug on Jax's currently manifested arms of Armon. There's this pull from abyss to abyss, power to power. Is it time, CJ? Look left, look right. They're not watching you, they're watching him.
We did.
It's not picking it up.
We know you're whispering. Give us what you got.
I'm here and I have a purpose, but that purpose is not feeding you yet.
Time will come. My turn's coming. You know it. Voice fades.
I imagine enough time has passed that I would come back with a few
Don't imagine that
baggies
you were
from
doing this at a lazy Sunday in the park pace.
I was not. I most definitely was not. I was bolting. And yeah, so I'll have brought back the bags.
I am impatiently kind of looking to see how close you are. It's like, make with the bag. That's
Yeah. I'm like, I brought snacks. And then I toss them toss them towards Javier.
Yeah, I'm going to catch and drink, basically. Drain both of them.
I'll bring you back to 2, sir. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's dead, like these things around us. Dead.
Quiet. We have work to do.
Fine. Get on with it.
And I'm going to roll for Blush of Life again, basically to kind of.
Sir?
So my eyes will go back to normal, and the death bloom stops.
Did you pass or fail your rouse for that?
I passed. Yes.
Please continue.
We were waiting on Mr. White to show himself, I think. That was.
Oh, he did.
Oh,
Well, I did without saying that. Yes,
Quite
when he
visibly.
gotcha. Okay. So, Mr. White, you're going to answer some questions for us.
Yes.
Hmm.
I obey.
Adorable. You don't, but you will. And with that, I'm going to reach into my robe and grab the last vial and fling its contents at Mr. White. And I'm going to compel him. I don't get hungrier.
Mr. White, are you contesting the urge to do as commanded by this person, this interloper?
Do I get the feeling that he would give me what I want?
What is it that you want, Mr. White? That which was
I think
promised to
everybody-
you?
Oh, absolutely, and more.
He's never lied to you yet. Go ahead, weak one. What are you waiting for? She's right over there. Cross the fire. Come on. You never did anything right anyway. You fucked up the entire thing. We went years we worked on this. Years. And you fucked it up from the start.
Oh, that would be visibly heard
So what?
to everybody.
Is he going to fix it for you, Mr. White?
Everybody hears this coming from his face.
Blanca will look to Jax, eyebrows raised. Did you know about that? Uh-huh.
There she is. She was promised. He did bring her. But you don't deserve it.
I will not fight to compel as much as my words are saying I will.
Okay.
At the moment.
I have my arms crossed over my chest. I'm looking right at him with these new eyes, completely blacked out, and the white halos in them piercing.
So I got a critical 10 on the compel. The command being, you will serve me until I say otherwise.
Just deserves for just fucking failures. Couldn't control your flock when we were alive, and now you get to be part of the flock. Congratulations, White.
Ah, obey.
Yes, you will. Now, you're going to tell me about the cave. I know you've been there.
Don't make us go back.
This evening started out with a gathering at the previously known as Marrakesh Farm, now known, Mr. Javier, as
Reconquista Arms and Armaments.
the place once home to the Brotherhood of Malachi, the cult and following of Mr. Ezekiel White. The place of a massacre some months back.
Two massacres? Three massacres?
At least two. At least. Subsequently, also, at the termination of season 1, they suitably held the Court of Archons at the Marrakesh Farm. Prior this evening, there was a summoning of a spirit. The mother of Miss Jacqueline Deary, one of Mr. White's surviving children victims, discovered quite a number of secrets, answers that she was hoping for, crushed hopes, dashed expectations, and a future no longer mired in mud, one she claimed for her own. Concluding the opportunity to speak with the summoned spirit of her mother, she cast her aside, abandoning the hope that was family, that was connection, that was a part of her humanity, and instead of keeping the fetter represented by the blue ribbon her mother often wore in her hair, when handed to her, she simply cast it to the ground as if it were a used tissue. Overcome with the emotions, she walked from the gathered as they continued their evening, their intention of summoning not yet done on this Dia de la Muerte. Elsewhere in Manassas, another event was taking place, or was supposed to take place. The prince's masquerade ball, Prince Fiona, she was going to have a gathering of all the kindred in the domain of Camarilla loyalty. A coronation of sorts, or maybe just a celebration that she's no longer considered in praxis, that she's been accepted by those above her as the prince of the domain. One of those participants, a Mr. Frederick von Doren, the primogen of the Malkavians, anxiously awaiting at the gathering place where there were but crickets, stars, and a cool autumn sky. Rico and Luke Lennox, making their rounds, had previously attempted to find out where this location would be. Took them several evenings of poking and prodding their various contacts or allies, listening to the rumors around the Three Monkeys, and the different gatherings, even poking their heads in at the Haven Club, one of the homes of Prince Fiona, finally finding it was in a park. the Toreador Prince picked a park for this grand occasion? Sure, why not? Stranger things have happened in this domain. Rico, Luke, tooling around, driving the outskirts of the area, you notice there is a mild lack of activity. You expected to see fancy cars, bodyguards, attendants, ghouls, what have you, music, lights, maybe even the majestic presence of the prince herself. Pulling into the parking lot near the park, perhaps you could describe the ride in which you've chosen to take in as you approach seeing yet a single masked person standing, looking about quizzically in a northwesterly direction as if something had gained his attention.
So, as usual, Rico is driving Rosalita, the 1980s classic pink Cadillac with animal print seats, with some Gloria Estefan blaring in the music, with Luke riding shotgun, keeping an eye out to roll into the parking lot. Luke, this doesn't look right. You sure we got the right place?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically everyone said it's going to be here. You think they did some illusion shit with it, hit underground or something?
Well, no, there's no way they would have been able to escape this. No way. I'm thinking something must have happened. There's a guy over there with a masquerade mask. Maybe he has a clue what's going on. You know what? Let's go talk to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing we have fucking going, and we're not gonna if we come back with basically nothing.
Except an incredibly awesome chicken head.
Look, it's a masquerade party, okay? I wanna blend in. I'm a professional, okay?
So, yeah, I'll park Rosalita in a perfectly double or triple park spot and get out and approach the gentleman.
Yeah, Luke will swing out too.
How's it going?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm a little confused right now, but other than that, it was an excellent night. Now, but I'm often the last to know some things and the first to know other things. Yeah, can be very irritating.
Get the feeling we showed up in the club in the wrong night shoes.
It's supposed to be a party here. It looks like you were looking for a party. You can tell he was looking for a party.
Well, yes, I can definitely tell that your chicken is here for a good time.
Well, he's got balls. He's actually a rooster.
Thank you, Rico.
Oh, so he's a very big rooster, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, do you know what happened to the party, or was it all a big lie?
No, I do not think that it was a lie. Fiona's not the sort to pull that kind of trick. I've got a feeling it might have to do with some of the goings-on that have been going on of late.
I mean, it doesn't make sense.
So, nice to meet you. My name's Rico. I'll put up my hand to shake.
Oh, I have heard of you. Frederick von Doren, and it is a great pleasure to meet you.
Oh, yeah, I think Dr. Weiss has made mention of you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, yes, Janet. Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful.
Lovely, lovely lady.
And does your rooster friend have a name?
It's Luke Lennox. I've been around a bit.
Not sure you have a wits and awareness.
To whom?
To Frederick.
Give me a moment here to grab the appropriate number of dice. And 5 successes.
5 successes is enough. As he peels up the beak of his mask, his face is unfortunately familiar to you from a snapshot that was shared with you of this person, not looking the same as he is now, trapped inside of a room with some box of some sort impaled on some of his fingers. It looked as though a snapshot from some security camera or something. And you know it had something to do with one of the Ventru estates in the area.
Excellent. Thank you. Ah, Mr. Lennox. Pleasure to meet you as well. You do have a face that rings a bell.
I get that a
don't
lot.
mean that gentleman at Notre Dame. But that's beside the point.
Yeah,
And
well,
what brings you fine gents out to the park tonight? You were looking for the little fete, the do?
Yes. We're
That's it,
looking
yeah.
for the mask, as it would be called, and apparently it's not here.
Yes, I am going to have to take this up with our dear and wonderful Fiona once we find out what has actually gone on. I would not blame her if she had to call it on account of, you know, the goons, the feds, the
Yes.
G-men.
yeah, I figured they got her quaking in her boots.
I wouldn't say quaking exactly, but sometimes it is a good thing to be cautious. A lack of caution can result in issues to people of our sort.
I've heard.
So what plans do you gentlemen have for the rest of the night? Because it appears that, I'm suddenly free, or at least reasonably priced in most downtown hardware stores.
Well, if
Not
you're a
me,
wrench,
but-
I'm a spanner, so
I have had a feeling to visit an old homestead recently. I felt drawn towards. Do either of you know of a place called the Marrakesh?
The old farm out on the highway?
That would be the one.
Well, it's not the Marrakesh anymore. It's been dozed over, and it's now a factory of some sort.
Potato. It was a factory before, just of something else. Now,
So you were
would you
thinking about
happen?
going there, right?
Would you happen to be going that way? I gave my driver the night off, of course, and so now I'm suddenly footloose and fancy free.
I think we could probably escort you in that general direction, seeing if that is your inclination.
Excellent. That would be greatly appreciated.
So, would you care to ride shotgun, or would you care to lounge in the back seat?
Oh, please. Do I look like I am dressed to carry a shotgun? I am most definitely the lounging sort, and that is an amazing car, I have to say.
Excellent. Oh, please come. Rosalita awaits. The chariot.
Oh, and she has a name. That is
geez.
wonderful. I have no doubt that she has a personality to match.
Oh, she's a beaut.
yeah, you could
She is
say that.
indeed.
And then I start singing the Tubes' "One in a Million Girl" because it seems to fit the notion.
And Frederick will happily slide into the back of Rosalita and lounge.
It's plush.
Gonna
It's comfy.
take his Moose and take his traditional shotgun seat next to Rico.
Rico is going to pull out his phone and send a quick message to Carlisle in our speak, basically saying, company's coming, prestigious. We'll be there soon. and pull away and start heading towards the farm in a unnecessarily circuitous route.
So, Mr. Van Doren, seems kind of unusual you being out alone at night like this. I always thought some of your stature tend to have a retinue.
It is that time of year when the nobles and the commoners mix. It is a tradition on Samhain, All Hallows, the Dearest de la Morte, call it what you will. So many cultures celebrate it in so many similar ways that those of status and standing doff their royal robes and go and mix among the commoners. And it's also a time for the commoners to step up and try on the trappings and find out what it is to wear a hat.
Yeah, I get what you mean. This is first suit I think I've worn in maybe 5 years.
Honestly, the first suit?
Yeah, I have to say so. I mean, you know.
That is a sartorial heartache. A suit makes the person.
Well, as you can see, I'm clearly a chicken right now, so doesn't seem to count out.
Just because you're a chicken does not mean you cannot possess personhood as well.
So the musical selection started with Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. Went to Number of the Beast by, can't remember the name of the group all of a sudden. And then, because of his commenting of sartorial, I went to Putting on the Ritz by Taco.
It's Iron Maiden.
Well played.
Thank you, sir. I should have known that. I feel bad for not knowing.
The ride out into the countryside, just outside of the city of Manassas, is actually one of frivolity. Mr. Von Doren is a fantastic guest in your car, keeps the conversation going and light, and is rather gregarious and has a winning personality. Whether it's unnatural or natural, you don't care. Back at the farm, as Jax disappears into the shadows and the cadre file out of the basement and out of the warehouse for the second portion of their evening's events. CJ, your pocket buzzes.
That does.
And it's a message from Rico.
Cousin Jude.
Yes.
Apparently, as per Rico and Lucas, we have incoming prestigious company.
Prestigious? The family showing up?
I highly doubt he would call them prestigious.
Very well.
That is interesting timing.
I can head out. I meet them at the gate.
Please do. Blanca, I'm upset with you, but I'm not going to get into this right now.
Okay.
Message Jax for me, you and Sarah. See that she is not going to cause an issue or hurt herself or someone else. Javier, how long will this Mr. White business take? Can we be done with it before our guests get here?
Likely not before.
Okay. Until we find out who our guest is, we're not going to say anything we don't need to.
Yes, agreed.
We like talking.
Message sent. I'm sure she's fine. She just needs a moment.
She will go back to ignoring you.
That's fine. She'll roll her eyes and smile.
Now, CJ, do you go yourself to the gate, or do you just tag Marku to radio down to Costanti?
I would head down myself, because I have Enzo still outside. I'm still going to keep Oblivion Sight up, but I do drop Shadowcast. And I would make my way to the gate after collecting Enzo.
Excellent. The rest of you making your way towards the area of interest, I assume?
I would not, actually. I would want to avoid that area. I would probably mill around the entrance to the building.
Kind of facing
And I'm in my
the
circle
parking
of
lot.
hell.
And everybody joins Javier, or do you guys just wandering about the facility?
Quick question, I guess, for the ST. Is our circle still lit, or have we not?
We didn't do any of that.
Rolled the
yet.
clock
Okay.
back just a little bit to accommodate the
fine.
changes.
Right, that's fine. So in that case, because Blanca had sort of already pre-set up things, she will actually go and collect those things, put them back in the bag, and then make her way back to her car and kind of put her things in there and just wait by the door of her car.
Excellent attention to detail, Miss Rosa. Javier would make a note of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we don't know who's coming, so I would hate for them to know what we're up to.
I would also help you pick up things and put them in your vehicle.
Oh, okay. In that case, Blanca will purposely leave things for him to pick up and then, make her way.
Excellent. There's but a few minutes of time, and sure enough, Carlisle, you can hear the distant songs emanating from somewhere past the wooded line at the end of the drive and entry to the farm property. Likewise, as you three approach, I will give you all wits and awareness. Or wits and insight. It's a difficulty of 3.
Got
What were we rolling for?
This was for Frederick, Rico, and Luke as they were approaching approaching the property.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
How many successes, Frederick? I think you said 7, but you're muted.
You're muted, sir.
7.
Fantastic. If you have 3 or
Thank
more, what you immediately notice when you get to the insight of the gate, there is definitively a darker feel to the property, more so than normal, or as might be expected on such a night. Were Rico and Luke in the loop about what was happening here this evening?
Rico was, for sure.
Oh yeah, so
Luke would have been as well, because
Luke lives there.
Yeah.
Sure. Fair. So while Luke, you were a little primed for what to experience, this is extraordinarily dark. Not unlike being near Jude's cuddle room in the basement of the morgue, and his many friends eager to say hello to whomever had the courage to knock on the door. It has that skin crawl. Frederick, the darkness for you is probably an interesting color, but more so, it's the montage of choired voices screaming from the other side of the veil, some of which tickle the web, their vibrations picked up in the ether. One, a more familiar voice, that of Ezekiel White.
As we rolled up, Rico's going to be hitting the horn a couple of times, which means that the strains of whiplash are heard quite feelingly through the night.
He's here.
Javier, you hear that for sure.
Oh, White.
CJ, sure enough. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, because I know that there's a guest coming, I'm going to use premonition. It's I do have to do a rouse, and then it's a resolve in aspects. And it's a passive ability.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so rouse check first. I did not pass.
Rosa.
So.
Hey, Rosa. Your pretty friends. They bring you
Not
gifts.
now, abuela.
You bring
Not
gifts for
now.
them. Did they bring for you?
They better
You should have. If not, it's rude.
It's very rude, and we don't tolerate rudeness. And then I'll do the actual check.
Perhaps you teach them lessons.
We do like teaching. That'll be 5 successes. Crit. It was a crit, and then 5 successes.
What is it you are attempting to invoke? What is it that motivates you? What's
In
so
this moment?
curious?
Because I know the nature of what we're doing, I guess I'm really just trying to get a sense for, will this guest help or harm our cause for the evening?
What's that for, Javier?
It's definitely the second one.
It's not peace.
no. It's like
returning
the
to her
It was the second
car,
one.
her bag full of goodies collected by her and Dr. Germain. She opens the door, puts it in, and by the time she closes it, she leans up languidly against the back door, eyes glazing over, opaquely white.
As that's happening, she'll actually grab onto Jude because he's right next to her, and she'll her grip will be really tight, not trying to hurt him, but just like so that she doesn't fall over or anything like that as she's experiencing this.
Visions flash through in rapid succession, as if they were on one of those old-style kaleidoscope turntables flashing against a wall with a cast of a candlelight behind it. Flickering image after image, it forms a slow, broken picture. One, of course, is the nearly black silhouette of the dark being you've grasped onto, strangely feels absent in your hand. There is an absolute nothingness that absolutely absorbs what you hoped was Jude's presence. That grounding effect is not there. Your tether to reality slips away rapidly. There's flashes of fancy dress parties, hidden whispers and conversations between silhouetted persons, a face of this person or that, even maybe one of Diarquius Crowley shaking hands with the thing you know named as Damien, the demon Archon, the hand of the Camarilla, also speaking and whispering in the ears of Mr. White. There's a flash of fire in your vision. The screaming faces and voices of Mel and Jax alike, burning and melting away, crisping flesh dropping from bone and cindering into dust blown on the wind. Those ashes caught on an apparition as they slowly gather like metal fragments under a magnet, forming a picture. There's a flash of a face of an elderly gentleman. You've seen him around. He's quite well dressed, smiling. It's almost an attracting smile, as if it were the magnet that pulled the dust to form his face. And he whispers to you a simple word, Not yet. Have a good night. The ashes fall at your feet and pool with the mixed burning fluids as you snap back in from your premonition, gripping Dr. Jude's arm impossibly tight.
Jude would have went to immediately strike you and then realize that, hey, something's not right, you're having a vision, and then go to stabilize you.
When that happens, when she comes back, she'll look at him and be like, I'm sorry, I know you don't like to be touched, but I saw something. We need to be extremely careful. This man, I've seen him before. He's one of the Camarilla. Would I know his name in having heard whispers maybe around the chantry?
Yeah, he's one of the most well-known, well-liked persons in the entire domain. There is not a person in the domain, maybe one or two, that would not claim him, at least in their own eyes, as friend.
Okay. Von Doran. Von Doran's coming.
We've met him at Elysium.
Yeah, he's coming. The party, I guess, isn't happening. I don't know, but he's on his way here. That's who's with Rico and Luke.
Guard your mind.
That's interesting. It seems like Mr. White has been talkative, and with that, I'll pinch the medallion in my pocket.
There is a responsive vibration as the soul of Ezekiel White feels the compression of 1,000 worlds and 1,000 fathoms of water above him, around him, below him, and inside of him, crushing him in the pressures of the deep. Your control over this entity grows by the minute. Frederick, as you approach in the drive, there is a sudden gasping sensation in your mind, an echoing of pain or anguish or fear in the voice of Ezekiel White, echoing as Rico turns the sound down on the stereo, stopping the car, and one Mr. Costanti Putanesca steps up. Hey, Scalaro.
Hey, cousin, how's it going?
Hey, the bus is Hey, there he is. Hey, hold on a second. He walks over to the little pin pad, which is a code. The gate rolls open. CJ standing there looks very CJ, very stern, very alert and aware of the moment.
I will call out to CJ again using the speak of our coterie. Octor, he was called here, and I thought it best to escort him rather than have him find his own way.
You would step up to the vehicle, poke a head in, see Frederick. Ah, Mr. Von Dorn.
Ah, Mr. Milner, it is a wonderful evening to see you again. And so soon after the last time we met, which was what? Oh, yeah, not that long ago. You're looking quite fine, sir.
I appreciate that, but Men's Warehouse only goes so far, sir. You were quite trussed up, leagues and bounds over me.
Oh,
what graces our honor with having you here?
There was a pull, a tug, a little birdie whispered in my ear and said it has been forever since you have been to that wonderful site where so much has happened, and you really need to come and visit it again. And so I thought, why not? And then the fates put these two gentlemen, well, Rico and the chicken, right there with this wonderful call. So how could I say no to a ride in this beautiful beast?
Please head inside. I'll notify Dr. St. Chimena once.
Luke, if you've
We
interjected,
take a couple
you've
steps
been
back.
muted.
Sorry?
I said, if you've interjected at all during this, you've been muted. We can't see if your mouth moves.
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Okay.
Luke's just been sniffing around because he knows something's off, and he goes by smell first usually.
There is a intense scent of myrrh. And what else were you burning?
Sandalwood.
Sandalwood, yes. It lingers heavy in the air about the entire acreage of the property. It's everywhere. It's as if it seeped out of the trees themselves. And there is no electrical lights to be seen anywhere. It is as dark will let it.
I would text up to Jude. Mr. Von Thorn is en route, and then I would turn to the other Putanesca around me and say, make sure you keep eyes on this main road. Nobody else comes in or out.
You got it. You got it. I'll be here all night. It was a poor attempt as a joke.
Around and I follow them up.
Honduran, it is definitely different from the last time you were here. There were lodges, there were cabins, there were gathering areas, there was a large acreage of gardens, there were facilities, there were people and activity, lots of life. And now it's steel-ribbed buildings and concrete. The entire everything that was the Marrakesh farm has been eradicated, removed, or otherwise obliterated and erased from existence. Save the familiar feel of the presence of what you are absolutely sure you watched burn into death, Mr. White. As you travel up the small drive, again, you do notice that it is deathly quiet. Save a few torches between a couple of buildings and in a certain gathering area, there is no electrical light, and you don't hear the hum of generators or engines or even power lines. It is as if they have purposely isolated this area from electricity for the evening. It's not unpleasant. And as you drive up, there's a small parking area in front of what looks like some kind of retail storefront with logos of guns and arms and manufacturers. Looks very officious. It looks industrious. And there's a car or two gathered and people standing about milling around. By all means, we'll start with Mr. Javier. If you'll tell us how you look for the evening, as there are new eyes on you.
Javier is dressed in what looks like a almost a medieval priest's robe. It's got the sash and a gray rose, basically right over his where his heart would be, in his chest. You would notice that the rose is missing a few petals. It looks withered on the outside, but still quite alive and vibrant in the middle.
Jude, let's go right around the table.
Jude's average height, Caucasian person with mustache, looks like late 30s, wearing Western attire.
Sarah is a 35-ish lady in 1920s flapper dress and gloves with a extra long cigarette holder, smoking, just standing off to the side at the moment.
She looks a page out of a period, for sure. As if she pulled this out of her own closet.
Luke's wearing a $2,000 suit that hasn't been washed in 2 months and has been in the inside of a trailer in the woods, and a chicken mask.
Beautiful.
That's a statement.
Carlisle has on a pair of slacks, white button down, a red tie that has very base coats, multicolored skulls on it.
Mm.
He also has a black circular pendant with a hole in the center of it. Semi-heavy
So-
set, 5'6", 5'7",
Big
late
fella.
40s, early 50s.
I saw a close-up picture of that tie, and I'm rather envious. Frederick, of course, is much as what you see: white tie, black tails, mask on a stick. Is a very he almost glows with his gregariousness. You can tell he is a people's person.
Blanca is 5'9", but she's wearing 6-inch heels, so she's much taller. She has a long floor-length, very flowy from the waist down black dress. She's wearing a necklace that is essentially a bunch of leaves. She has many a ring on. If she were to turn, or you were to kind of see her from behind, she has wings tattooed on her back from the top of her back to disappearing into the dress. And she obviously has her makeup done very similar to mine, where she looks, like she's got a very elaborate sugar skull mask on. But it is just makeup. Roses in her hair. As you get closer, you'll see that she has actual scarring beneath the makeup of a Joker smile. And that's about it.
Enrico, of course, is a 5'6", thin gentleman wearing a dress shirt with a white shirt underneath, has a Texas tie on, a bandana, dark sunglasses, driving gloves, and jeans with cowboy boots to finish it off.
When first Frederick's...
Rico,
Go ahead.
when Rico gets out of the car, he pulls out of the trunk a violin case.
When Frederick first speaks in those gathered, Javier, you will notice a increase in the tension and vibration in your pocket.
Okay, Frederick will get out of the car, look around. I absolutely adore what you have done with the place. I mean, it was full of life before, but now, so primal, almost feral, getting back to man's original nature with the balance of the dark and the fire and the just... I can... If I breathed, I could smell it. Wait, I can breathe. I will smell it.
Yeah, it smells like one of those tea shops in the mall.
This is not exactly how I believe it smelled to first man, but probably very close. All depending on what he was burning.
Mr. Von Doren, to what do we owe the pleasure?
Upon that being uttered, Zeke, that other voice, that vicious one that's accompanied you into the afterlife. Just desserts, huh, Ephraim? Look at what's come to join the party. It looks like it's your fucking night, huh? Winner, chicken fucking dinner. There's the chicken.
It's delicious. It's delicious. I get it all. It's all for me.
Javier and Frederick, of course, can hear this muttering.
Javier's just gonna smack his pocket.
I'm going to want to roll a perception alertness to tie those two together. The smack of the pocket and the exclamation from Ezekiel. Okay. And that would be 6 successes.
That'll do it. Yeah, it's not hard for you to put those two together. Place, time.
Not going to point it out. I'm just going to file that away. That's a very, very interesting little thing. Excellent. Must get me one of those pockets. Mr. Javier, it is a wonderful night. Thank you, and it is good to see you. A little something told me that I needed to come out this way. A little whisper in my ear, a birdie, you could say. Something just led me in the dance. And what could I do but follow?
Can understand that impulse. Allow me to introduce Dr. Jude St. Germain.
We've met.
We have indeed, Mr. St. Germain. You are looking quite stand-upish tonight. It is very good to see you again.
As much as I love your snake oil pitch, I didn't hear what you actually wanted here.
To listen to the tune, to experience, to find out what it is that these whispers in my head are telling me I should pay attention to. Me and mine cannot ignore the whispers.
Did Damien put you up to this?
Damien.
Archon. Disgusting looking. Not by his fault, of course. Just
Yes. I apologize. I might have thought of another Damien, but I can't think of one. No, I have not spoken to Archon Damien since the last time that I was here. I would not say that we are beyond my position. He has his position. People of position know those in position.
Very well.
I expect that if Archon Damien was interested in what was going on here tonight, he'd be here. I don't see him around, but then again, Nosferatu, you never know.
Blanca, I need a willpower check from you.
So just roll all of what I have.
This is your unspent willpower.
Okay.
CC's all.
2 successes.
That is
the blood die are
not
ones.
enough. No, there's no blood die in willpower checks. It's
duh. Okay, so then
straight dice. It's your willpower versus whatever's causing your trigger moment. And in this moment, it's yet another invasion by those. They surrounded you all in bombs. Bombs.
Yeah. Everyone would see, anyone paying attention would see Blanca get a little tense. Her fingers would kind of twitch a little bit. But she would remain still. And then at the mention of, just as Nosferatu are, she will activate Sense the Unseen.
Fantastic.
Sarah will walk up to Blanca and just put a hand on her arm, understanding that it was Sarah's establishment that was surrounded.
Mm-hmm. And so I failed the rouse, so that's 3 hunger. So that looking good, Okay, and then now I'll do the Sense the Unseen rolls. Let's see here. That is... Okay, 3 successes.
As before, when you did this, getting here earlier this evening, the place is spattered in the disembodied spirits of all of those who were murdered here. All of those who have perished here are present, least of which is a kicking, screaming, threatened, and maybe cowering Ezekiel White that seems to be clinging to Javier's leg as if it were a 3-year-old child going for a ride.
Okay.
There seems to be quite the attention of these unseen spirits around Frederick Von Doren. They make steer clearing of Javier and Dr. Germain.
Okay, so I will take note of all that. I've been made aware that it wasn't actually a rouse strike for Sense the Unseen, so I don't get hungrier. But I will look at Ezekiel and I squint at him. There is definitely disgust on her face.
You will see his malformed claw of a hand digging at the back of his neck, wringing flesh every time, and it rips it back into place as he's just eyeing between Frederick and her. Freddy! As more flesh comes off. More flesh.
Every time Mr. White talks, Javier is going to smack his pocket.
All right, where were we?
Chaos.
That's just our state of being.
No, we were talking to Van Doren. Essentially, right now, we're at a point to where, like, we need the ritual to happen now. Also, the talk with Van Doren and Milliner should probably happen now. So let's just actually do it. Yeah.
A broker, both of those.
And please, feel free to continue.
Blanca will actually look at Javier and just what she knows of, these kinds of rituals and the day that the special night that it is. She'll say, "Time is running out."
Indeed, Senora. Mr. Van Doren, I believe
at this point,
I know...
I will look towards the ladies as well and go, is the beautiful Miss Strong? And I will give them a very courtly bow. And the young lady you were with, I do not believe that I know. Finally, a strange face and a brand new one. It is a wonderful night to meet someone new. A pleasure to meet you. I am Frederick Von Doren, and I am most definitely at your service.
She will kind of lift her skirts a little bit and give a deep, almost like, courtly bow as well. And say, "The pleasure's all mine. I'm Blanca Rosa."
Sarah provides a curtsy, ensures that Mr. Von Doren, please walk with me.
Oh, most certainly. And I will. Is CJ caught up with us yet from the front gate?
Yes.
I will turn and say, "Mr. Milner, you will have to pardon me for a moment, but when a lady beckons, it is a poor gentleman to refuse her. However, you and I, we might have a little business later. Hint, hint, wink, wink, or so they say." Turn to Sarah and go, "Miss Strong, yes, please."
When last we met, it was Alicia. As you can see, I did tell you at the time I enjoyed the 20s.
Oh,
How are
and
you
you are the unliving image. It does my non-beating heart. Oh, so good to see this.
I do believe that the family here has some business to attend to. Why are
Wait.
you here?
Am I the only member of the Camarilla in the entire... Oh, my.
No.
How I stand out.
You're so happy.
We have another Camarilla guest here.
Oh, wonderful. I do not feel near so...
Two, actually. Luke is under the sheriff, working for Benny Blue. And Miss Blanca is a part of the part of the chantry.
Oh, a member of the pyramid. Excellent.
Yes.
It is always a pleasure to meet one of you.
I'm glad you think so. Her eyes go to Javier, and she is like, TikTok?
Yes. Well, about the number of cam guests, there might be an additional guest. I believe it's the individual who you may have been called to, Mr. Von Doren. Tell me, does this look familiar? And Javier will reach into his pocket and pull out a medallion that is the Brotherhood of Malachi medallion. You may recognize it. Actually, you probably would recognize it.
Or
And
sure.
its own.
Yes, indeed. I have did not expect to see another one of those for a little bit.
Well, this will be the last one.
That have anything to do with it?
That makes it even more unique and, let us say, important.
Yes. I was going to have a conversation with an old friend of yours.
Let's cut the formalities. This is a family matter, so if you are attending this event, it is not as Primogen of the Camarilla, it is as Frederick von Doren.
That is completely understood. It is indeed a hat that I can put aside, and as you'll notice, I am not wearing a hat tonight. So consider it.
You did say earlier that
Someone
this is
else.
the time of year where the people on top take their hats off and the people below put the hats on. So instead, you have removed your hat.
I can see why you have gained the laudits that you have gained, Rico. You are every bit as sharp as they say.
This is all very touching. Can we get on with it?
Blanca will go back to her car, grab her bag, and just, hold the bag and walk over to Javier so that he can lead the way.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go with you, and while we're going, I'm just gonna whisper, don't trust anything that he says.
I wouldn't. She grabs the bag and heads off to Javier, holding her head up high and knowing that she's being watched by this person.
I'm going to go over to Javier and say in our coterie speak, cousin, let me know if you need me to create a distraction for Mr. Van Doren. You know I have the skill.
Frederick, they have a unique speech between them. You may have experienced it once or twice before, but every time you do, each flavor is different. And you've probably heard it referred to as pigeon speak from time to time.
Ooh, go.
Very well. Miss Rosa, if you would mind, and Javier will step in to the circle.
Yes. From there, you will see Blanca begins to pull different colored candles out, and in the cardinal directions will begin placing down each candle that is a color representative of the different elements. After she places it down, lights the candle, she pulls out a goat head skull that has with at this point dried blood, a sigil of warding, and she goes to the 4 points, and only once Javier is within the circle, she then puts the final candle and skull down.
The circle they were referring to, for those of you who are unaware, is a small dug trench that smells strongly of sterno.
With that, she will back away quite a few paces to give Javier his room.
Javier would look over his shoulder and say, you all might want to step back for a moment. And with that, he would reach down and light the trench.
And as the sterno has had quite some time to evaporate into the air, there is a burst of fire in a ring that rises 3 to 4 feet off the ground in a complete flash and heat and cast shadows out. Everyone, a raw strength test, please.
Hello, my name is Trevor Chapman, and I play Rico Suede on Prince William by Night, The Night Shift. I'm here to remind you that your mental health is a very important thing. We all have problems, and I do mean all of us. I personally have suffered from both clinical depression and suicidal ideation. Sometimes it can be hard to share our issues because we don't want to burden other people, or we're too afraid or ashamed of the things we have done or the feelings that we have to even try to reach out to other people. But friends and family are here for a reason. They would much rather hear that something is happening in your life and help you with it than to find out too late that they didn't even know and they couldn't even try. If you feel that you can't talk to your friends or family, there are other resources available for you to talk to. Please take advantage and reach out to them. There is no need for you to go through this alone. We all need help sometimes. There is absolutely no reason to feel ashamed or afraid to ask for assistance, especially if you need it right now. If you or someone you know is in crisis, whether they are considering suicide or not, please call the toll free lifeline at 800 273 TALK to speak with a trained crisis counselor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline connects you with a crisis center within the Lifeline network that is closest to your location. Your call will be answered by a trained crisis worker who will listen empathetically and without judgment. The crisis worker will work to ensure you feel safe and identify options and information about mental health services in your area. Your call is completely confidential and free. Again, that number is 800 273 8255. If you are unable, unsure, or prefer not to speak in person, text the word NAMI to 741 741 to connect with a trained crisis counselor to receive free 24/7 crisis support via text message. You are not alone. Trained expert advocates are available 24/7 to provide confidential support to anyone experiencing domestic violence or seeking resources or information. Help is available in Spanish as well as other languages. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline toll free at 800 799 SAFE. Again, that is 800 799 7233. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, help is available. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline toll free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 800 656 HOPE. Again, that is 800 656 4673. You will be connected with a trained staff member from a sexual assault service provider in your area that offers access to a range of free services. For the Disaster Distress Helpline, call 800 985 5990 or text the word TALK with us to 66746. This helpline provides immediate crisis counseling for people who are experiencing emotional distress due to any natural or human-caused disaster. This multilingual, confidential, and free helpline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, call 800-985-5990 or text talk with us to 66746.